It's mostly used for just picking people off, even with little indirects. If they're sitting behind a wall, that's a great way to get them out from behind cover so that somebody else can either deal with them or so that you can direct them. So far, not seeing any rapid blasters out. I am seeing a range blaster, though, so the Inkstorm will be coming out on the side of last second. 2 splatter shots and an N-Zap going to be joining along with that. I'm seeing that comp a lot. 2 splatter shots and an N-Zap seeming to be a pretty popular comp to go with something mid to long range.
Yeah, the thing about that team comp is that the 2 splatter shots right now, they just have so much mobility. They have the burst bombs, which can pressure, and they have the splashdown to stay alive. So kind of what these weapons do is they just run around taking picks. It doesn't really matter if they're in a bad situation because they can just splash down and run away. And on top of that, you have the Ink Armor from the N-Zap, just giving them that ability to play very, very aggressively and push in. And it's actually a very, very nice team comp that a lot of teams are actually finding to be very comfortable with right now. You kind of get those 3 weapons and then something with some range or some harassing ability, like a blaster, like a splatling, etc., etc. And on a map like this, where there's so much ground where you can just kind of swim around and find those picks, it works very, very well. But of course, as I'm saying that, they're finding themselves on the back foot right now, not actually able to find the opening here that they need to get into the middle of the map.
Yeah, just for the Halibut in firm control of the zone right now. Locke, even in Splatoon 1, favoring those long-range weapons, has decided to go with the Jet Squelcher this time, and then they pair that with things like the Inkrella that is going to give them the Inkstorm to contend with. It basically builds that thing up so quickly along with the Sprinkler, and then an N-Zap of their own, both teams bringing that in and favoring that Ink Armor to try and win those 1v1 engagements a little better. And then, of course, the Octobrush, which does have that zoning special we've been talking about, that Ink Jet, which works a lot differently than it used to, but can still be a very powerful weapon. And then the Octobrush itself, the fact that you can get up in somebody's face and have that 3-shot kill potential is so deadly when you basically have to get on top of the zone at some point in order to contest it.
Right, and the Octobrush is actually very strong in this map just because of how good it is to shark here. There's so many opportunities to actually just hide and be in a good spot to just, like, you know, catch someone off guard. And the Octobrush is so good at that. Like, once you're in range of an Octobrush, you're pretty much dead for the most part. And the Octobrush is very good on this map specifically because of that. Oh wow, actually the Inkstorm not going to be used before they're taken out there, so that's huge. That was a very, very big opportunity for, I believe that was just for the Halibut to actually push back in there, but unfortunately they lost that Inkstorm. And now it looks like this is last second that's in the lead, right?
Yes, last second is in control of the zone. John W making a couple of quick picks here to get control of the zone here. I didn't think they'd have enough range on that splatter shot to get the person that was hanging out on the grates, but they did in fact. Krona gonna now pop this Ink Armor here to see if just for the Halibut can get back into the zone. They're not really in too much danger yet. They still have about 35 points ahead of last second, but unfortunately they're gonna get melted down. It's already 2 down though on the side of last second, so Hydra's having to back up here with this N-Zap and see if they can stay safe. They're very, very close to that Ink Armor, and that's one of the people that you really need to stay alive. Even though it's a relatively short-range weapon, you need that Ink Armor player to build that up as quickly as possible. And of course, we talk about the Tenon Missiles. It's another special that hasn't seen too much play here, but if you can locate 3 like that, it's so nice and potentially getting a kill, but also just knowing where the enemy team is grouped up.
Yeah, the Tenon Missiles are really, really weird right now. They're not a bad special, but a lot of players just kind of don't use them. And I think it's just because of the style of the game is, like, the style of the meta right now. The meta is all about, you know, movement, being very aggressive, and being able to kind of move around the map with it, have it painted well. And it's really weird because Tenon Missiles are a very good special. They're just not really used. And it's actually really interesting because every time a team does use Tenon Missiles, it does seem like they work out fairly well, and a lot of teams do like they use the Tenon Missiles just kind of because they want the main weapon that has Tenon Missiles, like a Jet Squelcher, maybe a Slosher. In this case, it is the Jet Squelcher, and it's just kind of like, oh, I've got the Tenon Missiles, I might use them. I haven't really seen a lot of teams kind of focus on the Tenon Missiles though, because they're very good at being able to get a pushback in. When you use the Tenon Missiles, it forces people to move away, and that is actually it lets you move in when you force them to change position. So I'm actually curious to see what Tenon Missiles are going to be doing in the meta coming up pretty soon here. I think they're a little bit underexplored right now.
Yeah, with the Tenon Missiles, it's really just you have to have the forethought to back up and use them. Have that reticle be away from the enemy team enough to where you can get 2, 3, or even 4 in that reticle. And I think most players like to just stay in the action the entire time. That's why we see things like the splatter shot being played so much, is because they don't have to leave the action to use their special. They could just, if they get too deep, use the splashdown. If they want to kill somebody, use the splashdown. Same thing with the N-Zap. If you want to pop the Ink Armor and stay in the action, if your team is up you can just pop it and keep going, and it refreshes your ink coverage. So the amount of turf you actually have in your ink, what is it? It's like a little fuel canister or something, but it refreshes the ink that you have at your disposal. But people don't like to use specials that force them to back out of the action, with the exception of the Stingray. But so far, John W. again trying to lock down the zone here for last second. It's been a very, very close game. It's very possible that we could see overtime come out if last second can cap the zone. The 10 missiles, though, coming out. Some of those shots are going to land on the zone, but it looks like we will see overtime.
They've got control of the zone, but there's 3 players down on the side now just for the Halibut. Now in last second drops 2 players. They need to keep this zone. They really, really need to keep the zone. They're going to drop 3 players now, and that's going to be it. Just for the Halibut, it's going to take game 1 over last second. Really good play on them in the overtime. Not dropping anything, not dropping players. They did a really good job just kind of holding that, pushing back in, taking that zone. Very, very quickly cleaning up that first game.
This makes me hopeful that this one could potentially go to a game 3. It was a very back and forth match here. We see KAs of 13 and 12 respectively on each team that are going to be leading their team. So it's definitely possible that last second, if they can group up a little bit better in game 2, could take just for the Halibut to a game 3. And as we move on here, I really think that, again, coordinating your specials and making sure that you're around somebody on your team, that you don't always go in as a solo player, because the enemy team likely is going to catch on to that. They're going to say, okay, say it's John W. John W. on that splatter shot, he's over here, he's alone. Let's send 2 people after him to see if we can take him out. And so if you're always sending a flanker by themselves in one direction, the enemy team at some point will get wise to that and be able to counter that. So you constantly have to have a strategy that the enemy team is not going to expect, or that their comp isn't going to be able to handle. So we will be moving on to tower control on Inkbot Art Academy. We already talked a good amount about this map and mode combination, but again, it's all about controlling that plat, making sure you have enough map control in mid before you even get that tower push going.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you said, it's all about the platform control. You need to be able to have those weapons that can push up into the platform. You need to be able to have those ways of engaging platform fights, while you have the disadvantage, while the opponent has the high ground. You need to be able to push up. You need to be able to find those kills from the low ground. And it's weapons like the sloshing machine, weapons like the rapid blaster, things that have lethal bombs like splat bombs and suction bombs. Those are huge on this map, as well as some range. You got to have that one range weapon that they can sit up on the top boxes of mid. They can sit on the tower, and they can find those picks while the tower is pushing. It's as I said earlier, this is more of a team comp map than it is like a team map.
Especially from last second, I think we can definitely expect the splatter shot to make a return, the end zap to make a return. So it's all about those last 2 weapons. They have to be mid to long range weapons, something like maybe a Splatter Shot Pro or something like a heavy Splatling that can have a major impact here. And let's see what it is that they've brought with them. It is going to be the hero Splatling and a sloshing machine. So they will have double Stingray to contend with the zone, which is just such a devastating comp to go up against. And they're going to have 2 splatter shots in addition to that. So not only will they have that aggressive in-your-face action, but they're also going to have multiple Stingrays to contest any push that just for the Halibut tries to make on the tower.
And on the other side of things, we have Halibut bringing up the Rapid Blaster Pro. As we were saying earlier, I really thought it was only used on like muscle forward splat zones, but it looks like they're taking it out here for tower control and ink blot. And I actually like that decision. If you look at the map, sitting up on the top boxes of mid, the 2 stacks, the Rapid Blaster Pro can actually hit onto the platform pretty well. Maybe not the best, but it can, and it's actually working out for them right now. That's almost 2 full wipes, and just for the Halibut has a really good push going forward here. They've found these picks. They're still finding picks, and the tower is still moving. This might be a really quick match. They're actually very close to the knockout point, already being halfway through the track.
Yes, just for the Halibut, really dealing well with this Stingray comp that last second is brought out. They've only really had to deal with one, and they were able to maintain that tower push consistently here, forcing another 2-down situation there. Locke hanging out with this Rapid Blaster here. Pro, they're going to throw the Inkstorm as well. I don't know how they stayed alive on that exactly, but they are going to get that map control here. They finally will go down, but a push up into single digits in the first minute and 15 seconds of the game is going to be so tough for last second to contend with, even though they have a lot of time still to do it.
And wow, that was actually an incredible play. That was their very first push. They kind of just strolled in, and they got it all the way to 9 points. And that's really nice to be able to have. It's a minute and a half in the game, and they got a 9-point push already. Like, wow, they are happy. They're probably pretty good with whatever last second's going to throw at them here. They just got to play a strong defense. They have that Rapid Blaster Pro. They have the Brella, and they've got the Ink Brush. Sorry, not the Ink Brush. The Octo Brush with the Ink Jet. that can zone pretty well. So they're in a really good spot to be able to defend this.
And neither team really afraid to get off that platform, get into mid, and look for those 1v1 engagements. Right now, it looks like Just for the Halibut is winning them, but last second with 2 specials available, the Stingray's going to come out. The Sloshing Machine still sitting on theirs. Multiple going to go down, though, so this tower not really going anywhere. And Just for the Halibut's fine, content to keep control here in mid, try and see if they can maintain map control so that last second doesn't even get an opportunity to push the tower anywhere close to what they need to get to.
And it's pretty much just going to be like a Team Slayer match now for Just for the Halibut. Like, they've got such a strong lead that all they got to do is just kind of sit here and find these picks. It looks like they are opting for more of a defensive style of play. They're okay with giving last second the tower as long as they can deal with the push. And wow, the Stingray actually coming out here is going to be huge. And last second is looking a little bit better than I thought they would on this push right now. Just for the Halibut is looking like they are able to deal with it. So like I said, they're okay with giving them that tower. They can deal with the tower push. They've got such a huge lead that it doesn't matter if last second gets a few points on the board. And it's, oh wow, that Octobrush somehow surviving that splashdown. It's just pretty, it's completely up to the team play and the defense of Halibut right now if they want to keep this game.
Marsh just stuck in the tiniest corner, somehow able to survive, and the Inkjet, which is coming out now, is going to be such an instrumental tool in stopping any push that last second has, because it's going to force them to scatter on the tower or die on the tower. And even without a Stingray in their comp, Just for the Halibut does have a lot of nice weapons at their disposal. The Inkstorm as well, going to be a nice thing to just get damage on the people that are on the tower and have anyone come from behind them and take them out with only 1 or 2 shots. Nice kill there as well by Ren on this flat Brella, also getting the Inkstorm out. So really, even without the tower, Just for the Halibut getting a lot of map control here in mid. The Sprinkler from this Brella playing a big part in that, and that can win you games sometimes, even when it looks like from a team comp perspective, you might not have it out. If you can maintain map control, you can win a lot more games than you might think.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, this is like a team comp match, but both of these teams have good team comps for this match. We got the heavy splatling and the sloshing machine on the side of last second. That's pretty much all you need. The 2 splatter shots can run around finding those picks, giving you that momentum, giving you that advantage. And it's the sloshing machine and the heavy, the 2 Stingrays, as well as the attacks from the sloshing machine, the auto bombs, etc., etc. Those are all good enough for pushing the plat. So they have the team comp to be able to take this back, but there's only 48 seconds left, and they don't really have the momentum that they need to get these pushes going.
And again, Denisu's had the right idea on this hero spotling. Stay back, use that Stingray when they can, and try to get some picks. But it's been easier said than done in terms of getting the picks. They are still zoning out the members of Just for the Halibut on this tower, keeping them from getting back on the tower. But now they went down, so it's only 3 members remaining for last second. Just for the Halibut able to get on the tower. Marsh going to be popping this Inkjet and finding a couple of kills on the Hypers.
Nice.
Beautiful job there.
This is the 1.1 Inkjet.
And I'm not even sure there's going to be enough time for them to get a knockout, but it is possible. At least it's going to stop last second from getting on the tower and making a push of their own.
They can get that knockout. They're going for it. They got to just jump on that tower.
2-1, and they got it.
They got the knockout. They don't even need the game timer. They've got the knockout. So
under 10 seconds left. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's always funny when you see that. I mean, the game's going to end anyway, but they got the knockout bonus. In ranked, of course, that's going to give you a little bit of a bonus just because you beat out the timer, but a fantastic job there. Oh yeah, gotta have those points. And 16 to the lowest being 13. So every member of Just for the Halibut slaying with their own weapon.
Yeah, so very good job from Halibut there. They're going to take that set 2-0. Again, this bronze bracket right now is best of 3. So fantastic work from them. They're going to be able to take that set. Moving on, we are going to be taking a look at some other matches here. Again, we're going to let you guys know as soon as possible. It looks like the one that we're trying to get into is going to be Oathkeeper versus the winner of Envision and the Leftovers. So that's what we're looking for there. Just for the Halibut is going to be moving on to the semifinals, the semifinals of the bronze bracket to play Red Ink. And of course, the next match that we're looking at, Oathkeeper versus the winner of the set that they're waiting on, is also a semifinals match. So these 2 teams are going to be fighting for that final spot and the victory of the bronze bracket.
Yeah, Envision and the Leftovers currently tied at 1, so we're waiting for that game 3 to finish before we get into the winner of that set versus Oathkeeper. Oathkeeper going through the bracket, able to defeat the Salty Squids 2-0, and then getting a pass through the bronze bracket quarterfinals as Ink Breathing Dragons DC'd or basically dropped from the tournament, so they had a free ticket into the semifinals. So looking to see how fresh they'll be going into these semifinals here. Of course, they would love a chance to win the bronze bracket against taking on, of course, the winner of that set, taking on the winner of Red Ink and Just for the Halibut. I'll be excited to see, with both of those teams winning their previous match 2-0, who ends up being the victor. The silver bracket also getting started here, so I'll look to see if we have